into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. Hey guys, welcome to the AFTERBUZZ TV After Show. I feel like I should be talking in a nice 50s accent right now.
I like
Thank you for tuning in to the AFTERBUZZ TV Doctor Who After Show. I'm your host, Zach Wilson. I have clearly lost my mind. Left it aboard a spaceship in the 38th century.
Gee golly, that was fantastic.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be talking about the episode Sleep No More in this episode tonight, because I feel like no inclusion of no more is like unintentional at this point.
Oh yeah.
But I'm your host, Zach Wilson. You can tweet at me throughout the week, throughout the show. I've got my computer open. I got the live chat rolling. That's Zach Wilson. And now my fantastic panel is back as always. Yael Tygiel's here.
Hi everybody. You can tweet at me live during the show at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. And I am in the chat roll speaking with you all.
And I'm Tauri J Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Tauri J. It's TAURIJAY. Tweet me now or forever. Yep. Those are your choices.
Okay. All right. Let's dive into this episode. I want to get your guys' reactions. Just what did you think of Sleep No More?
I loved the way it was shot. I'm going to be honest. That was fascinating and brilliant, and I really like the idea of doing the twist that was supposed to happen. And I also was terrified that it would end with
wanting a little bit. But like I think for the most part it would have served better as a Doctor by himself one-off. And I don't think that's where this season has led us to. Yeah, the season hasn't kind of set up for one of those, so it seemed really out of place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. I did not particularly enjoy this episode. I think it didn't hold me as a story. Mm-hmm. The shooting style was interesting. And Doctor Who, you're right. Doctor Who has not done found footage, but I've seen so much found footage recently in all media that if you're gonna do it, it needs to be on point. And we'll get into the depth of it. Tara, it's interesting that you bring up you felt like there's something more coming from this, or whatever you just said.
Yeah.
I remember. I forgot your exact phrasing, but
Yeah.
that you were.
It left me wanting more.
Left you wanting more.
Yeah.
Stick around for some news and gossip pertaining to that.
Ooh.
Towards the end of the show.
Okay.
But yeah, this episode was written by Mark Gatiss, who you are probably familiar with, as he has been a writer on the show for 6-7 years at this point.
Yeah.
No, longer. 9 years. Because I think he wrote his first episode in 2005.
Oh.
So 10 years. Mm-hmm. It was either 2005 or 2006. But he's done like sporadic episodes, not like 3 a year.
And you may recognize his face from The Lazarus Effect.
Yes.
That was his.
Or if you watch Sherlock.
Yeah. I meant for
he's Mycroft, and he's a co-creator with Moffat.
I just meant for the Whovians who don't watch Sherlock.
But he is responsible for a number of episodes that I love. Mm-hmm. Cold War being a particularly relevant one in terms of this, because it's another Base Under Siege episode, which is a classic Doctor Who style of story.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with the Base Under Siege, we talked about it a lot during the Under the Lake episode, because it's very much under the lake, and we have the second this is the second Base Under Siege episode this season.
Yeah.
I almost felt to a point that the sets were reused. from under the lake.
Like the doors?
The hallways.
Yeah.
The hallways felt the same.
Right.
I think for me that was part of what I just didn't. I had trouble with this episode.
Right.
For
Yeah.
a number of reasons. One of which felt like I never felt like I didn't know where we were going.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
We're introduced to the glasses Rasmussen.
Yeah. Gagan Rasmussen.
Rasmussen.
Marshmallow.
He has a
The
very
doctor guy.
Rasmussen. Rasmussen.
I love the way people are
Robitussin.
responding to the monster. Oh no, eye boogers. What's next?
Za-
Earwax? Yeah.
Zach, did you notice the monsters looked like poo?
I noticed something else about them that makes me laugh because I think of librarians.
Oh, yes. Yes. You mean their faces?
Their faces. Yep.
Nope. Put in a
Yeah.
kibosh.
Anyone who watches librarians knows exactly what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
but we're not getting into it. All right,
Yes,
fine.
they have portal faces.
Portal
faces look like
faces.
portals.
Yep.
All right. But oh my god. But so, did you guys think that Rasmussen?
Yeah.
Did you think when we met him that he was a bad guy?
Oh, absolutely. The way he started it was everybody's dead. Here's an explanation of what's happening
Right.
Yeah.
here. Clearly, you're not a good guy.
But the episode played it like that was a big twist.
They
Right.
played like a lot of things were a big twist, especially with the found footage. It became very clear. He said at the beginning, this is through everyone's helmet cameras or the cameras around the ship.
Right.
Like, he made it clear to say that at the beginning, and then every shot we see is found footage. And then it was very clear as soon as Clara got out that we were looking from her perspective. It was the least twist I've ever seen. Because I went, is no one going to notice that's Clara? It's obvious. There's 3 people in the room. One of them's the doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really, that bothered me.
I mean, I figured he was bad. Like this, I had mentioned that this episode had a lot of it felt like a lot of previous episodes, and that guy to me felt like the gold-toothed dude from the Titanic episode, the one who was
Yeah.
So
You can trust me.
Right?
Or whatever it was.
Yeah. So it had
mixing
that
two
same feel to it, where it's like the sleazy guy who's is up to something, and he's literally crafting a story.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I didn't believe him for a moment that he's also anytime you're the last man standing in a Doctor Who story and you're not the Doctor or one of his companions, you're the villain.
Right.
That's the thing. I gotta be honest, as I'm thinking about it more as we're getting into it, I think this may be one of my least favorite episodes of Doctor Who, of modern Doctor Who, that I have ever seen.
Wow. Bold statement.
I'm thinking thinking about season 1, which had a lot of people is infamous for being rough, very rough and inconsistent, and has some amazing episodes in Dalek. And I think the finale of that is very strong, but some people very much dislike it.
You're talking season 1 with Eccleston?
Yes, I'm talking Eccleston. I'm not saying my perspective. Sorry.
For those listening, you missed my face.
To clarify, I really enjoyed season 1. Season 1, I was hooked by episode 2 when I was watching when I was first watching the show. Everyone's like, "Oh no, you got to push through." I had to push through anything.
Yeah.
I was just in.
Yep.
But I can't think of a lot of any real episodes that I was so just meh on, and not. Here's some, and because I want to talk about the other characters while we're talking about Rasmussen. The character that I connected the most with in this episode was the Grunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cared more about the Grunt than I did any other character on the screen. I have my own previous connections to the Doctor and Clara,
Right.
but I didn't care about any of these people.
Just to clarify earlier, the gold tooth guy from Titanic's line is, and I should know because my name is Max. That's his line.
All right. Sweet.
I just wanted to correct it because I was mixing it up with Rose Tyler's dad, Pete Tyler, when he goes, and you can trust me on that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was mixing those up. But also, there's something that somebody said that I lost. I lost it. I apologize. Oh, he says at the beginning, "Don't watch this video." Right? He says, "Don't watch this.
Don't watch this." And I'm like, all right, I can just turn on Sherlock on Netflix, I guess.
And then he says, you're going to meet these crew. Don't get attached. Okay, so they're going to die.
Right.
What? What is this? It's
and there is something to be said, though. I have seen other shows and other episodes do the thing where they tell you at the top what's going to happen, and it can still be compelling. It's why historical fiction movies can still be compelling.
Right.
Like Lincoln. The Spielberg movie, there was that movie, because it's Spielberg, is well constructed enough to the point where I thought they might not pass the emancipation they might not pass the amendment.
That's funny.
But so you can do that. That's not where they went wrong. Where they went wrong is just that they didn't build these characters in a way where I want to connect to them.
Right.
I didn't know anything about their connections to each other. They weren't relatable. There was nothing. There was nothing human about them. There was something human about the grunt, being put down and marginalized and forced to be a soldier for people who could care less if it lives or dies.
Right. Yeah.
But. So, and also these people were slave owners, effectively.
Yep.
Sorry, guys. Pete C says in the UK we call farts grunts. And so Zach is most connected to a fart.
That sounds like me.
Yeah, that's so funny. Thank you, Pete C. We have much to talk about, you and I.
But what did you guys think of the way that, once the characters, started interacting with Clara and the Doctor, how do you think it changed or evolved? Did it?
No.
No, I mean, they pretty much stayed the same the whole time. They were fodder, and it was it was like a video game roll call at the very beginning where it was this person, consider him a red shirt, but he's funny. This person, resident hard ass. This person, skeptical guy. You're pretty much your Bill Paxton of the group. It didn't matter. I mean, I would say that the main focus of the story and where I guess it lacked is that the main character of the story was sleep. The Doctor spent the whole time talking about sleep, not necessarily how this affects everyone, what's going on. He's just sleep, it's necessary. And then he starts waxing poetic about sleep, whereas you could be using that time for character development, but we didn't have that because they were all pretty much dead anyway.
The characters I cared most about were the singing holograms and the face of the woman who explained what was happening. I was like, who is she?
Well, let's talk about the sleep machine and everything.
Morpheus. Red pill, blue pill.
This is the weirdest noise, Yael.
Amused with yourself.
So, Morpheus. Another thing that I just didn't get in this episode, they've invented, what they've done here is they've invented a machine that allows you to not sleep. I gotta be honest with you, I got a lot of stuff to do. That sounds awesome. Do you know how much extra video? You know how I could play video games again. I don't have time for that because I work around the clock and I have so much stuff I'm doing. I would love to not sleep and not have it affect my mental state and drive me into a pool of insanity.
I'm gonna be honest, sleep is one of my favorite things.
It's pretty great.
Well, I love sleep because
I would never give that up.
But if you could give it up for a month?
Maybe, but then I would need a month to just sleep. I really like to sleep.
You wouldn't miss it with this machine because essentially you would get that month of sleep all in a matter of 5 minutes.
You would feel the energy that you get after. The idea is you feel that energy that you get after a good night's sleep for a solid month straight.
I totally get that. I just personally like to sleep.
Right.
The sleep is what I like, not how I feel after I sleep.
Okay, and that's fair. But the Doctor comes in and immediately, not before he knows about how this theoretically, before he knows
Yeah.
about how the sand monsters or the sandmen, if you will, which I feel like it was a huge just like miss that nobody called. Like they set it up there. They're singing Sandman all over the place, and nobody calls them the Sandmen, or did
Clara
they?
did.
Yeah.
Did she?
Clara
I
did.
missed it.
Well, you
I
missed,
was
he'd fallen asleep,
there
yeah.
was actually a conversation where Clara calls him the Sandman, and Doctor goes, "No, I named them," and she goes, "Okay, what do you want to name them?" And he goes, "Well, Sandman's good." It was a very Cisco moment from
Yeah.
the Flash.
I
Nice.
totally blinked on it.
I'm real disappointed in you. Flash
Sorry,
reference.
I was too busy trying to figure out what was going on in this
Right.
episode.
Morpheus.
Yes. No, but I did. I guess I may have drifted off during the scene because I was trying to figure out why the Doctor was so against
Yeah.
this sleep thing, like this anti-sleep thing. How could he have known? He didn't know before
Right.
this okay.
The
According to
eyebuggers?
this episode,
Yeah.
sleep is an episode, or sleep is a function that serves to keep monsters from forming out of our eye boogers.
Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't that make complete sense?
Oh, I never thought about it that way. That's so
That's
sad.
what they said.
I know, but it just, that's not how I don't know. That's it.
I mean, I will say that Doctor Who traditionally has they're really good about taking something that's really innocuous and making it sinister. And I
Right.
feel like that's what their intention was. Like this, again, it reminded me of other episodes in that, like, this is the equivalent of the Vashnarada, but from your eyes, essentially.
Okay.
I like that. Like the who
shadows.
turned off the lights.
Right.
Fear of shadows. Angels are the perfect example.
I think also
Fear of just a statue. I
the
remember
internet one is also a good example.
the internet one's great. Like,
Which
don't
also
click on
this
that
reminded me
Wi-Fi.
of. Yeah.
But like with angels, like I remember like after I first watched that episode, I went to like meet some friends for coffee, and there was like a very angelish statue that I like near the coffee shop that we went to every week, and I hadn't noticed it before, but you're damn sure I noticed it that time.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of psychological horror that you want from Doctor Who. I do not fear my eye boogers
Yet.
yet.
I mean, also, how, like, just the size of those guys. I
Yeah.
was like, those can't be a single person. I don't think you accumulate that much eye booger your entire life. I'm gonna be honest. Maybe you all
well,
do. My eyes are pretty clean.
From what I understood is inside of the eye boogers was originally a person. So it was like taking every cell that a person has ever like has inside their bodies and essentially flipping it inside out and making it
okay.
dust.
Okay. Because I was concerned.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't imagine that they like sprang out from the person's eye as like tiny eye boogers and started like rolling
Kind
down
of
a
like
hill.
adipose.
Yeah.
Adipose out of your eyes. You're right. This is 100. It's all the episodes put together.
Yeah.
It wanted to be a horror episode,
Right.
but it also wanted to be this found footage thing, which can go hand in hand. But I think that combined with this very they spent so much effort stylizing the episode. I feel like there wasn't enough and putting these twists in. I feel like there wasn't enough emphasis put on just constructing a story.
I
Right.
really liked I really liked the way it was shot and the found footage thing. I wish it was a different story that they had told. Also, the third JP says, I depose.
Nice.
And Jazz, what's her name, says, only in Doctor Who will you analyze eye boogers. Absolutely.
Yes.
I depose. Yes.
Adipose,
Yes.
yeah.
Gross.
I wish
Hashtag
it had been little adiposes that had formed out of your eye boogers.
Yeah,
that
that-
would have been a great episode.
Especially because everyone's buying it, like
Yeah.
plush adipose. I would, if you gave me a cute little eye booger, I would buy that.
Yeah.
To sit next to my adipose. I really want an adipose. Moving on. Moving on. Morpheus created eye boogers like iPod.
Oh.
It's great.
They're not interactive. Well, I guess in a way.
Yeah. And they do consume
What
you.
did you guys think
Nice.
of the monster design?
What do you mean?
Like
The way they looked?
The way
'Cause
the way they looked. I know you talked about their
Faces looking like portals?
Yes.
Yes.
So very specific type of portal.
Yes.
The kind of portals they have in the librarians?
Yes. They take you to a magical land.
Yep.
I would say I felt like they were very generic Doctor Who monsters. Like they were like, all right, they look like a bunch of stuff. It's like,
How did they kill people? This is a thing that I feel like usually we can let go, but the monsters just sort of corner people, and then they open their portal mouths, and then people are dead.
It looked like the portal mouths were stuck open. They kind of looked like stone. Like from what I saw, they looked like stone. They weren't
It's almost like the Thing.
movable or morphing.
Right.
Multiple people in the chat roll think they look like poo. Like giant poo.
I mean,
Giant walking poo.
which is essentially, I mean, they
The
they are
Golgotham?
Huh, nice. Good one.
Sorry,
Dogma.
Dogma reference. I was really hoping somebody would
Absolutely.
get that. Thank you.
One of
Yael.
my favorite movies.
Nice.
Also one of my favorite monsters. Disgusting.
But see, poo can be scary.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, so sorry, I'm
These
sorry,
were
we
not- sorry.
Oh,
interrupted.
no, it's fine. I mean, I was assuming that they were essentially devouring people. So once the person was in their portal face, then the eye boogers would start breaking them down to their spare parts.
H. Rue Fit says, or Haru, I don't know how to say it, says they absorb / consume them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pete C says, as they look like poo, surely they open their potty mouths.
Nice.
Good one. High five.
You just high five yourself?
No, I was high fiving Pete in the world.
Oh, I thought there was a fly.
What just happened?
I broke her.
We broke.
Yeah. I bet Morpheus could have got the fly. Oh, man. But yeah, so I thought that
Sorry,
the monsters were, they were fairly, I think that they served their purpose. I mean, ultimately they weren't the main antagonist, which was apparent by the end. I felt like the last one that came out should have been a little different. I felt like it should have been more human-esque or a little more grotesque, but ultimately it didn't matter.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to wrap my brain around what the... So here's the thing. Okay. There was a question a little while ago in the chat roll.
Yeah.
Do you think they've run out of episode ideas? And I think not, because I think at the core of this story is something very interesting. Like Tauri, like you were saying, like that idea of the fearing the thing that's normal. Those little things, like that's a cool idea. And like what would happen, the idea of what would happen if you didn't sleep?
Yeah.
What bad things might happen? It just it got lost somewhere along the way.
I feel like every season we suffer through 1 or 2 or 3 filler episodes.
Yeah.
And that's what this was. This was a filler episode. That said, Charlie in the chat says, this was a man circumventing nature episode. That was the theme of the trees episode last season.
Yeah. Which was another low point.
And he says,
for Doctor
also
Who.
a bad one.
Yeah.
I guess, I felt like last season the biggest filler episode to me was the robots in Sherwood Forest.
Which was another Mark Gatiss episode.
The more you say which ones are his, the more I think, why don't I like when he writes Doctor Who episodes?
He's had some good ones. Well, like
Such as?
I don't know.
Well,
But
he does have episodes that seem to polarize. Victory of the Daleks was another Mark Gatiss one. That was the World War II, the Daleks in World War II.
Yeah, I loved that one.
I really loved that episode. It spawned the Daleks, which a lot of people have problems with. I personally didn't.
It spawned the Daleks?
Like the multicolor.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about the ones where it comes out of their head.
No. The inner, like the eye, like an iPod.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, Tauri.
Sorry, someone says I'm shady.
Oh, yes. I guess to me, I don't feel like it's that. I don't feel like it's that they've run out of ideas. I think that they are conserving their budget for something big at the end. I feel like they're really building towards something.
Maybe. I mean, I guess this could have been this was a bit of a bottle episode.
Yeah.
Very limited sets. And maybe maybe they really did reuse some sets.
I mean, yeah.
Or pieces of them.
Oh, yeah.
Because Yael and I last week were talking about how the New Mexico set was likely the same one that they used for the what was it before the flood episode with the communists? Yeah, the Russian training ground. That was the same set. They just repurposed it to make it an empty town.
I mean, they found some desert-like area in Cardiff and made it. That's what they do. And they do. They're known very much for reusing sets. And I was going to say, I kind of feel like every time they're inside of a spaceship, it generally looks the same.
Yeah.
Also, was it me or was it Satellite 1? Right? That when we see where they're going to, when at the beginning we see where the doctor and his sleep people are, it looks like Satellite 1, which is from Bad Wolf way back when.
Yeah, that's hold on, I'm gonna look up what century that was.
I should know this. It's the first or second great and bountiful human empire.
Oh.
And then 100 years later, to the day.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Those were some of my favorite episodes.
Was it Satellite 5?
That could be it.
Satellite 5 was the one...
first a news station and then the gaming station. Mm-hmm. It was first a news station when they brought that obnoxious boy from Utah, Adam. We forget about Adam. And then it was again the gaming station in the end of season 1.
Right. God,
I love Doctor Who.
And that was... what century was that in? The year
in the chat
200,000.
So not... Okay, so according to the third JP, it was the 51st century. Maybe, but I'm not sure.
So probably not Satellite 5, but maybe a precursor.
I mean, I also just thought that they were like, let's just use this shot. No one will remember. Because it looked very much like that Boo 69 agrees. And then everyone's agreeing, ew, Adam. Yeah, obviously.
Yes.
Ugh, that jerk.
All right, there was another question I had for you guys. What do you guys... Here's another thing that I was bugging me about this episode, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. What was the Doctor doing there? I know that the idea is the TARDIS takes them where he needs to go, not where he wants to go. Mm-hmm. I don't understand, as a thing of each episode, that doesn't ring true to me.
Right.
Things occasionally when he's like, oh, I'm gonna go to London in the 54th century, and he ends up in London in the 78th century,
right?
Because that's where he needed to be. The TARDIS misses. I get that, but when we don't see them attempting to travel, I'm now confused. Why are they here?
I don't.
They just wander into the story.
Yeah.
There's another thing I'll bring up in a second, but they just wander into the story. Does it matter? Am I over asking here? Is it unnecessary? Do we need to know why the Doctor is where he is within Doctor Who?
I'll say what bothered me a few episodes ago, right? We had Clara in the orange spacesuit, and the creature in her, the bug in her suit.
Yeah.
And we didn't get an explanation for that, and we didn't get an explanation as to how they got here. And I'm hoping that we pull another, like Amy and Rory at one point, I think it was in The Power of Three, where we got these quick little snippets that kind of answered little questions that were jokes that were thrown in there, like throwaway lines. I hope we get that. I hope we get them either later on seeing them leaving this, or them being like, oh, let's see what this looks like, Satellite 5, let's stop here.
Right.
You know? Like something like that ties it together. I know that Moffat likes to randomly do that sometimes, and I'm giving him permission to, because he cares what I think, but that's what I'd like.
Yeah, I mean, for like the bug in the spacesuit, I didn't need an explanation there because, well, no, we could have used it, but it's the kind of thing that they were just giving us a piece of it anyway. Right. The idea was that we were only catching a snippet of this adventure, and so I was totally willing to accept that. Mm-hmm. But this episode was a whole this is a whole episode, so right. I want to know why you've taken one out of only 12 episodes, 12 adventures that I'm going to get this year, or 8 episodes I'm going to get this year because of all the two-parters. Why are you giving one of those to this story?
Right.
And I get that the stylization may have, like, the idea is it sort of took that away, but for me, that's where the stylization goes too far because it's hurting the story.
Right.
It's hurting my connection to the story and hurting why I'm interested.
Well, I mean, I think that if I were to try to rationalize it, because I definitely see what you're talking about in that, like, it seemed very deliberate that they were there. I mean, and you could say that two people being friends, he could have said something to the effect of, "I'd like to take Clara to this abandoned space station." Because one, it represents these two societies that had come together on Earth, and now they're now it should be super duper creepy. Like you would take your friend to an abandoned warehouse or to a haunted house, something to that effect, and there just happened to be people there.
Purple 1405 says, I felt the same way. They just happened to wander into the episode. And the third JP says, I don't think you're overanalyzing, Zach, because usually with episodes like this, the doctor will say something like, I was checking, blah, blah, blah. And I agree. I think usually we get something, and we didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they did it for the space jokes, guys.
Space.
You know,
I did enjoy that.
Yeah.
Like, just because it's in space doesn't mean it's a space restaurant. that was cute. I did like that banter.
Right.
Do you guys have any other thoughts about this episode, like this storyline?
I think the fact that at the end he was an eye booger as well, and was dying. I was like, all right, good. Let's move on.
Oh yeah, the whole thing about like there weren't any cameras all along. What?
Right. No, it was very clear. It was very clear that once they went into the machine, and once you slept in the machine and you came out, you got this thing. That became very clear when Clara came out, and all of a sudden we were at her perspective. That said, if you watch the closer look as how they shot that, fascinating. The camera guy stood in for people's roles and like was holding a gun when you saw the gun at the end of it.
Yeah. That did look really cool.
Very cool. I think really I like how they did it.
Yeah.
It just was a waste of an episode to do it on.
Is it weird that I found myself thinking like, wonder if the union got him extra pay for holding a prop while he was operating camera. I couldn't shut off the producer guy in the back of my head.
No, I was looking at it and going, I like when a show does something creative and clever and new.
Yeah.
And to me, Doctor Who doing found footage is totally creative and clever and new.
Yeah.
The fact that it was an obvious twist and that it was a boring story and that they were eye boogers, like, and that I was positive we'd wake up and it would all be a dream.
Yeah.
And his plan to take over the world at the end when he's like, and I've done it, I've succeeded. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Well, because I think because the whole thing with his plan was that like he was essentially embedding the same frequency that they use for the Morpheus sequence, and so now that we've watched this, we've also been exposed to it. So essentially, we would become booger people,
right?
But like the whole thing is that his plan relies on his video going viral, which is like the hardest thing to do, and I bet he doesn't even know social media. So what's even the point?
I want to know where he put it. Like, what site is that on?
It's on Reddit. It's space Reddit.
It's not. You don't need space in front of it.
SpaceReddit.com.
Yeah.
If it's not registered, we'll go register it now. Okay. Yeah. So I think I want to get into some news and gossip.
AFTERBUZZ TV.
What?
Okay, got 2 news stories to drop on you. The
So
first
excited.
one is very much related to this episode.
Okay.
Because in an interview with RadioTimes.com, Mark Gatiss talked about that he wants to do a sequel to this episode because they left it open. The bad guy got away.
Sure.
At the end of it, this sleep monster who could theoretically take over all of humanity with his eye boogers.
Yeah.
Got away, which is unusual for Doctor Who. Usually, our bad guys get defeated. It's true. And Gaddis said it does have an unhappy ending. Yes. And in this, he said that in this case, the Doctor loses.
Question. He wants a sequel, or we're getting a sequel?
He wants.
Okay.
It's not coming this season. It has not been made.
Got it.
To be clear, this was a one-part. Even though we've had a lot of 2-parters, this was
Right.
only one this season.
Sure.
Yeah. So he wants to bring in this character back. I kind of hope after the fan reaction that they don't.
I'll say if they do a sequel and it is evolved, that would be interesting because he was saying that they're always evolving.
Yeah.
I would accept it possibly if it evolves.
Right.
That said, Langley in the chat goes, "Oh, F me, no."
Well, I mean, I think that, like, at the very end, they introduced an interesting prospect in that, like, these sand monsters could pretend to be human. So effectively, this whole episode could have been people being consumed and then you not realizing it, and then having to deal with them turning into these sand creatures. So if that was the sequel, which I feel like this episode being a standalone did a disservice because it could have used a second part. I think that, like, if you would have been able to follow it up, then you could have been able to really wrap it around nicely. But we're left with the horror aspect and not the story aspect.
Yeah. I mean, look, Moffat will do what Moffat wants to do.
Yeah.
Gaddis will do what Gaddis wants to do.
Absolutely.
I don't need I don't need to continue this. I could kind of leave him to the wind, not knowing what happened. But speaking of characters who were left out in the field and we had no idea what happened to their fate, but seemingly they would have had an impact on the Doctor's life going forward, Moffat made some statements regarding another... some Doctor Who fans would say a sour point in Doctor Who history.
Oh no.
Jenny. Moffat made a statement about Jenny and her fate.
Oh no.
No, this is light. This is funny.
Okay.
Apparently he was asked at a recent event what happened to the Doctor's daughter. And this is the quote. I've got Russell T Davies' answer. Apparently it was me, referring to Moffat, that kept her alive because he said Moffat said, "Oh, don't kill her at the end. That's the Star Trek thing to do." So Davies kept her alive just because he said that. And he wrote to him after. He's like, apparently Moffat, I guess, like, sort of flippantly, like, was oh, don't do that. And then Davies sort of listened to it and decided to keep her around.
Yeah.
Moffat wrote to him afterwards and said, "Well, I didn't know that I did that." And to which Davies responded, "Oh, it doesn't matter, Stephen. She flew straight into a moon."
That's terrible.
I mean, it's true that she didn't know how to drive. That's a really good point.
So according to Davies via Moffat, the Doctor's daughter has had her fate decided. She died immediately after by flying her spaceship into a moon.
Here's what I'll say. I'll say this. The chat is going crazy with the fact that the Doctor's daughter married the Doctor because she's the Doctor's daughter.
Oh yeah, we know that.
Yeah. But I'll say this. Moffat said when he was in London, he straight up said when asked about Jack that he would bring back Jack if the story called for it, which is what happened with River. River is coming back because the story called for it.
Yep.
I wholeheartedly believe that if there was a story that called for Jenny, he would bring her back.
Yeah, but there won't be.
Never say never. That's what I'll
true.
say. That said, she flew into a moon. She may have landed just fine.
That's true. She could be constantly regenerating on that moon. She's
You're like, why am I still here? And that said, she would have fixed that escape pod
right. Yeah.
with her sonic hair tie.
Look, I never had as big a problem as everybody else did within the episode. It was more of he's not really the only Time Lord in a sense after that. So it gets a little confusing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the only part where it becomes like a, huh? But I thought it was a cute article to bring up because as we're talking about plot lines that people are not happy with.
Right.
But so with that, I think we should move into some predictions.
What?
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV.
Boo 69 says, "We will end you, Moffat." All right.
Yes.
Maisie Williams is coming back next week, guys.
Ah!
They didn't show her on screen, but I heard it, and then I was hold on, hit that little 10-second back button. Listen, oh
Yeah.
we knew about this a couple weeks ago, but it's great to hear that it is coming back. Another cool thing next week is Riggsy is coming back.
Yes.
From Flatline last year.
Yeah.
And he's getting to go in the TARDIS, long term, not just I'm gonna drop you off at this train yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited, guys.
Let me ask this. Do you know if next week is the beginning of another two-parter?
I don't offhand, actually. I'm trying to, I don't want to say that I do.
Right.
I can't remember 100%. I don't think it is.
Okay. Because I remember when they announced that Riggsy was coming back, I was very excited. Mm-hmm. The fact that it took us this far into the season made me really sad to get him back. And if it's only for one episode, that's also going to make me really sad. He's a fun character, and I would have liked him for at least a two-parter, and or to become the permanent companion. But that's not happening.
I mean...
Are you sure?
Oh, I'm pretty sure. I mean, at least not now.
Right.
He's not the companion now. If he does become the companion, it'll probably be next season.
Yeah, this could be his
If at
backdoor
all.
pilot, though. This could be them kind of testing out how new, Capaldi and Riggsy and whatever do this time around, which would be nice.
Yeah, Boo 69B's point set that is if he doesn't die, which, knowing this show, is very likely.
Right.
He's got a 95% chance of death. I'm surprised he didn't die in the first episode.
So I mean, he's named and he's coming back. So I
die.
feel no. I mean, he could be our next Martha. You know.
Okay.
I'll
take it.
The rebound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can accept that.
Yes. Next, this is a confirmation. Next episode is a one-off.
Ryan says the last two is a two-parter.
Yes. The next week is called
Ryan.
Face the Raven, and then the last two episodes of the season are Heaven Sent, followed by Hell Bent.
I'm gonna guess for those that Missy returns. I have nothing to base that on, but I'm throwing it out there.
All right.
Heaven Sent, Hellbent, Missy.
I would believe that. I think that when we get me next week, it's going to be... That's what the characters...
Yeah.
It's very confusing to talk about.
Let's talk about me.
But when we get me next week...
I get you all the time.
I have to think that she's been in touch with Riggsy since his encounter, cleaning up after the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows what she's done with him. We know that she is nearby now and is aware that probably aware that the Doctor knows now that she's nearby because the timelines have started to match up. So I think that she is going to be the one who pushes Riggsy back to the TARDIS.
Okay. Interesting.
That's my prediction.
All right. I'm gonna make a wild prediction and say that in kind of entering this pocket alley of alien stuff, it inspires the Doctor to find his own pocket universe that contains his people, and that is what sets him off into the next episode to find Gallifrey. And he's
Please. We know you're going there, Moffat. We know you're going there eventually. Just do it already.
Jazz, what's her name in the chat, says, I think Missy or me will cause Clara's death. Yeah. I think that the lack of death consequences is what's going to bring back Gallifrey. Right? The fact that so many people have lived this season when they were not supposed to is going to cause Gallifrey to return. Bold prediction. Clara is going to die and the Doctor's going to do something to save her, and that's going to be like the last straw that brings back Gallifrey to be like, dude, you need to calm down.
Right.
Remember we talked about that, or were you here that week when
Probably.
I threw out my like crazy prediction that they're like watching and they're
Yes.
like, enough is enough. You're gonna break time again.
I was here for that, but I think that it's going to be Clara's death that's going to bring them back.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I could see that. What else? Did anybody else notice on the previews for next week? It looked a lot like Diagon Alley.
Yes.
Yes.
I think that's the purpose of it, though, is that like aliens have their own Diagon Alley that's like hidden from mankind. It also reminded me of the bazaar in
The Rings of
Pompeii.
Akaten.
Oh. Yeah, that one too.
I got
All the
excited.
bazaars.
All the bazaars.
Do you
Yeah.
go to like
bizarre.
Flourish and Bows for like your alien clothing?
Yeah.
No.
Face of Bows back there.
No.
All right. I think on that note,
Morpheus.
I think that's going to do it, guys, for the Doctor Who After Show here at AfterBuzz TV. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. I hope you got something out of it. This was a tough one to recap. Just it was a very I know a lot of you felt the same way that I did. It was not a spectacular episode. It was a bit of a filler episode.
Right.
But I think that I'm expecting a return to form next week with Face the Raven.
Oh, yeah.
I expect big things, especially from the last 3 episodes of this season. It's going to be great. Until then, Yael Tygiel, where can everyone keep up with you?
Everyone can keep up with me on Yael.tv. I speak English. YAEL.tv. And Whovians. Guys, there's a show called The Librarians. I keep pushing it because literally Whovians wrote the show. And they go, hey, you like Doctor Who? Doctor Who reference. So check it out. We will be live on the after show tomorrow, Mondays, 10 p.m. Me and Tauri be there. Also on Twitter at Yael Tygiel, YAELTYGIEL, and Instagram. Go.
Yeah, I'm Tauri J. Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Tauri J. It's TAURIJAY. And as Yael said, on the Librarians panel and also other panels here on AfterBuzz TV like Flash and Arrow. Also Grimm. And we all do Grimm.
Hey! You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ThatZachWilson, ThatZachWilson, and on a whole bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz, including Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Muppets, which you're going to want to tune into this week because I've told a bunch of other panels. The Muppets reviewers really brought their stuff and got us to a point where I have now agreed to reveal on the Muppets After Show the footage of me when I was a kid on Sesame Street. That's coming Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So until then, guys, I'm Zach Wilson, and thanks for geeking out with us.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.